Notational Analysis on Mixed Martial Arts, Scientific Application to Coaching 2. When expressing the physical demands of mixed martial arts performer, a genre of traits must be applied and/or gained before stepping into a ring. Importantly, understanding the necessities of any physical activity and then applying knowledge and experience to adapt them aspects into MMA concept. It is vitally important knowing the amounts, time limits, intensities for each training periods and to compete and to improve performance without causing burnout to the performer is crucial for a sports coaching view. MMA is a unique and complex combat sport which uses a wide range of kicks, punches, elbows, knees and grappling found in more traditional martial arts such as kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling. Due to the diversity in these attacking methods, a performer will need to possess high levels of strength, endurance and ability to enable to direct power repeatedly under load and unloaded conditions. Furthermore, the performer must be able to have the physical resilience to absorb and respond to frequent and high-intensity collisions. Also, a main concept of being a martial arts performer is to maintain a substantial amount of aerobic and anaerobic endurance to overcome the high-intensity characteristics of the sport. Anaerobic and aerobic endurance. Mixed martial arts is a sport which requires both metabolic involvements of both anaerobic and aerobic pathways. When discussing anaerobic endurance further in mixed martial arts, the predominant contribute of energy after 3 minutes of activity is anaerobic endurance. Considering the nature of the length of each round, 5 minutes, with minimal recovery, the performer is forced to draw heavily upon the anaerobic system. Due to the intensity of a mixed martial arts bout, it is highly essential for one to maintain adequate anaerobic endurance to enable a continuous amount of workload during a certain period of time. A professional fighter would contribute sufficient hours training and development to increase work ability. From this, being physically able to effectively perform at a high intensity for longer durations than a fight scheduled. Furthermore, the anaerobic system will be targeted in mixed martial arts. Strenuous amount of about when a performer is underpinning a finishing move, such as a submission, which would require a strenuous amount of energy, with the result of the opponent tapping out or a referee stoppage. The human body does this by targeting the ATP system, which allows short bursts of energy to be enabled. Anaerobic endurance would adapt to an athlete in MMA when applying powerful movements such as submission or looking for a quick strike to knock out an opponent. This would be applied by using both physical attributes to perform the technique and also psychological abilities such as knowing when to strike the opponent, applying effective counter-attacks and catching opponent off guard. Power. In mixed martial arts, movements are applied with power, delivered in short periods of time, usually against the force of an opponent. A performer would critically maintain high levels of power to enable efficient force to strike, push, pull and counter an opponent in a fight. Agard et al. Noted that a punch is delivered in 50 to 250 milliseconds. Therefore, exceptional amount of force development capabilities are required. Additionally, when applying takedowns, forces at high rate must be applied against the mass of an opponent. It has been determined that in comparison to rugby league, performers' the ability to apply power under loaded conditions underlines the differences between elite and sub-elite performers. This principle would act in the same manner for a mixed martial arts fighter. Linking with the aspect of power, a performer must have an efficient amount of physical resilience. Expanding this, a performer must be able to absorb continuous amount of physical attacks and be effectively ready to counter without losing the focus of shot selection and placement. Balance. Core stability refers to the ability of body to hold its core, which includes lower back and pelvis. The more direct form of core stability comes from the strength and functions of a large bracing muscles, erector spinal, latissimus dorsi, gluteus maximus, rectus abdominis, and the obliques, as well as the deep stabilizing muscles, transverse abdominis, and pelvic floor. Core stability will occur regularly in MMA fights, most common when performing ground-based activities, whether it being in an offensive or defensive situation. Training in mixed martial arts will build these areas up naturally. The focus will depend entirely on the weakness or muscle imbalances. When expressing unbalance, there are two factors to consider: static and dynamic balance. The most influenced balance when considering mixed martial arts would be a dynamic balance, as it allows the balance of the athlete when applying a strike or submission. Balance would be a highly essential asset to maintain as the athlete, as it will construct a more controlled and relaxed fighting ability and will enable the performer to fully engage in techniques which require balance along with other aspects such as strength, power, flexibility, and against the mass of an opponent. Strength. The grappling battles which experienced by mixed martial arts athletes which resemble them of wrestling consist of dynamic and isometric strength. It has been suggested that approximately 50% of fights ended during ground fighting action. Therefore, developing this characteristic can contribute to the performance enhancement of a decisive MMA skill. Strength would be used in mixed martial arts to perform lifts and to take down the opponent to the ground. Although in each competitive fight, athletes must equivalent to the same weight unit set out by officials, aspects such as strength can be adapted accordingly to the intensity the athlete is trained. It would give off a greater advantage to an athlete with more strength resources in a fight, as it would allow them to potentially achieve a higher percentage of successful takedowns, which could contribute highly to the points awarded in the fight if it was to go the full duration.